Pranam to everyone. Audio 6 Jeevan Sadhana, a Noble Art of Living. Chapter 16 Guidelines for Cultivating Self Confidence. I am Indra. I never face defeat. Death cannot overpower me. Those desirous of extracting somras should beseech me only. Friendliness with me can never be detrimental. Yajurved. One who wants to lead a fulfilling life should try to develop self confidence, which is the only source of courage, success, and victory. Those possessing self confidence are capable of accomplishing anything. Difficulties, obstacles, and hurdles can neither deter nor discourage them. On the contrary, their courage multiplies thousandfold during adverse circumstances. They always go on marching with a positive attitude of achieving success. Circumstantial, circumstantial hindrances may sometimes compel them to stop or to retreat, but they never get disheartened under such situations. They take a pause and restart their struggle with fresh agility and redoubled courage. A self confident man never accepts final failure and he never fails finally because of his confident willpower. He firmly believes the grand truth of his identity as the undecaying, immortal, pious, enlightened, and liberated soul. Being the child of the Almighty Lord, he concretely feels himself to be the source of infinite powers. This very specific faith endows him with success in every noble endeavor. But this deep self-confidence, should not give way to self-conceit. Both are entirely different. A self-conceited man attributes his success to his own mental and physical powers. Success puffs him up with pride, while failure throws him into the dark dungeons of frustration. When an egotist person gets success, applause, and honors, he starts treating others with disdain. On the contrary, depression caused by failure starts pushing him towards cowardly suicidal tendencies. Genuinely self confident persons treat their achievements as godly gifts. They try their best to utilize their talents, prosperity, and powers to relieve suffering, pain, and distress of the needy and the helpless. Their struggle for success becomes a process to cultivate and promote virtues, while failures help them to trace their own deficiencies. They do not have a tendency to grab success, credit, and fame by fair means or foul. All these automatically come to them because of their virtuous qualities and attributes. How to develop self confidence? The truth is that we go on molding ourselves according to our own perceptions. A man who thinks himself dust is definitely trampled upon. Everybody walks over dust, but none moves over glowing coal. The person who think themselves capable of doing hardest jobs and believe their own capabilities create favorable circumstances all around them. The moment we firmly resolve to do a job, it is already half done. While habitually indolent people go on building castles in the air like a conventional fool, self confident persons always ultimately achieve their goals. Potential of a huge tree is always inherent in a small seed. This seed, when sown in the soil with proper manure and water, sprouts up into a large shady tree. Similarly, all possibilities lie dormant within us like seeds, which can be activated into sprouting with the water of discrimination and manure of virtuous thoughts. If we are able to touch and tap unimaginable powers and capacities lying dormant within us, we can very easily achieve the highest peaks of greatness. While addressing a meeting of volunteers, Yugrishi, Reverend Gurudev, detailed out some specific guidelines for developing self confidence. Practicing his inculcations in life, anyone can achieve grand self confidence. These guidelines are: 1. A firm belief and deep faith that we are immortal souls, inseparable from the Supreme Spirit. 2. A belief that we dormantly contain all attributes of God, we have just to awaken them from dormancy into activation. 3. We are capable of executing the toughest of jobs provided it is in tune with the innate attributes and qualities of our soul and the Supreme Soul, because a self confident person cannot do anything unvirtuous under any circumstances. 4. Even the hardest situations of life are just a challenge and never a misfortune. Our courage should be resolutely awakened to meet the challenge. 5. Whatever we term as distress or difficulty is actually a means provided by God to awaken our willpower and dormant capacities. 6. A truly self confident man has three intrinsic qualities: determination, courage, and a positive attitude of ultimate success. For him, moments of struggle are welcome challenges which develop his willpower and strengthen his talents. As regards obstructions in the path of awakening self confidence, Gurudev indicated following factors. 1. Habit of worrying. Those who always worry can never be self confident. 2. Envious nature. In fact, one feels envy only when he assumes himself inferior to others, while we all, being children of God, are uniquely equal. 3. Doubts and suspicions do not let us concentrate and rely on us. 4. Those who suffer from fear of uncertainties and apprehensions always lack self confidence. Get rid of these vicious tendencies and inculcate the qualities of self confidence and self esteem. Chapter 17. Develop self respect. O fire god Agni, you are resplendent. Make this sacrificer prosperous. Rise for bestowing great fortune. O Agni, may your worshippers never perish. May the singers of your glory be honored. Atharvaved. The meaning of self-respect is inherent in self-dignity. It is experienced only by those who are conscious of their virtue-based dignity and never deviate from it. Those who care a fig for their dignity and readily stoop low for the slightest gain are always deprived of it. Self-respect is never given by others. It is self-earned. It is not the name of some civic honor or columns of praise in newspapers. It's a very private experience which takes place in our inner consciousness. The experiencers of this feeling remain happy and contented irrespective of whether or not they're getting worldly laurels. Those bereft of this feeling always suffer from an undefined emptiness and dissatisfaction within in spite of getting all the worldly honors and praises. To emerge out of this dissatisfaction, the only way is to reinvent self-dignity and redefine self-respect, because the outer identity of which people are normally aware is in no way conducive to the process of Jivan Sadhana. Normally, respect for the ego or I sense is taken to be self-respect. Even the smallest slight to the ego is deemed a blow to self-respect. This being so, it is but natural for a self-respecting person to avoid any such activity as will hurt his ego. This erroneous identification has made the society's elite shun physical labor because this is supposed to be a domain of the downtrodden and the lowly placed. How can the so-called respectable people do it? From the overlap of ego and self-respect have sprung many evil practices in the realms of individual and social lives. Man is so deeply immersed in false sense of ego regarding caste, clan, and lineage that he has detached himself from normal human values and behavior. In trifling matters, his ego gets hurt and he is bent upon punishing the offender. Of late, new laws have been reached and even killings are being done in the name of protecting the honor of caste and family. To reverse this perverse trend, it is necessary to redefine a noble emotion like self-respect. Self-respect is the ineffecable line of normative bounds which must not be violated in any condition. To reverse this perverse trend, it is necessary to redefine a noble emotion like self respect. Self respect is the ineffaceable line of normative bounds which must not be violated in any condition. Right conduct and righteous qualities define our self respect. Noble sentiments and sublime values of life are its symbols. Their correct awareness, unshakable faith in them, and full alertness about the inviolability of their norms exemplify our self respect. If we act accordingly, we feel honored in ourselves and experience an exhilarating pride within, while a converse behavior drags us into the gloom of self pity and remorse. There are many events in the life of Yug Rishi Puja Gurudev which make the essential meaning of this truth evident. The incident being mentioned here is of his Mathura days. Gayatri Tapobhumi had come into existence. Gurudev Param Puja Gurudev along with Param Vandaniya Mataji regularly participated in the morning yagya. That day also, when he reached for yagya, at the appointed time, his eyes fell on dog's excreta lying near the Tapobhumi gate. The passers-by were making their way around it. He observed this proceeding silently for a few minutes. Then, without saying anything to anybody, he moved towards the gate, and before others could react, he had cleaned the excreta and washed the place thoroughly. After this, he went for bath, and having made himself clean and pure again, returned to the Yagyashala. Those who were witness to all this felt awkward. Why did Gurudev have to do this work himself? He could have told a cleaning staff or some worker. Such thoughts arose in many minds, but none was bold enough to mention this to him. Gurudev, of course, in his inner vision, was aware of these thoughts passing through their minds. After Purnahuti, concluding offering of oblation, he addressed them. Gayatri Tapobhumi is the holy seat of Mother Gayatri. It is home to all of us. Its cleanliness is also the duty of us all. Live we will in it, but clean it somebody else. What could be more shameful than this? Having said this, Gurudev looked at those present and continued. To clean excreta is a matter of self-respect for me. Loss in self-respect comes from tolerating filth and looking up to others for its removal. He warned on this occasion that self-respect increases by inculcation of the attributes required for self-development. By neglecting these attributes, we can only become hypocrite egoists. The sense of self-respect comes to those who serve the needy, give comfort to others, and whose hearts are brimming with noble sentiments. Ask yourself daily how much you have moved forward in this direction today. This continued introspection and self-evaluation will lead to the emergence of true self-respect. Chapter 18. Development of Virtues, the only touchstone for self-evaluation. As the honeybees add freshly collected honey to the previous accumulation, even so, O Ashwini Devas, may knowledge, brilliance, strength and power abide in me, my virtues be continually augmented. Atharvaved. We should continually engage in evaluating ourselves to see what is the pace of the development of virtuous qualities in our lives, because only this is the true touchstone of Jivan Sadhana. The speed with which virtues grow in us also determines the speed with which our Jivan Sadhana sharpens and matures. Our inner strengths awaken, our life progresses towards success, and prosperity, glory, and fame reverberate in the arena of life, a refreshing new surge of promise, fervor, and enthusiasm is felt, and every nook of our inner beings is filled with the fragrance of joy and contentment. But all this will happen only by enrichment of virtues and by the meaningful pursuit of Jivan Sadhana. Worldly people evaluate themselves on the touchstone of wealth and luxuries rather than virtues. For them, success, honor, and power are everything, irrespective of how and through what unjust means these have been acquired. They consider cunningness, deception, and flattery as valid means of success and are ignorant of the true art and joy of life. It is the concretely experienced truth of those who are privy to the mystical essence of life that worthwhile successes are always the result of tap and punya, virtuous deeds, whether done recently or in some remote past. Maybe we have forgotten the past now, but it doesn't matter. Vibrations set in motion by an action never perish. Energy is indestructible. Its manifest forms keep on changing though. Good and bad action both bear certain fruits. Good actions are the field expressions of our virtues and bad actions of vices. These action seeds may, however, take time to fructify. This time lag depends on the germinating potential of the action seed as well as fertility of the soil of inner consciousness. But in their due time, good and bad results, as the case may, are a certainty. When the individual, ignorant of this truth, takes recourse to sinful means and achieves some success, he forgets that he is in fact enjoying the fruit of some of his own good deeds done in the past. Even if he had not resorted to any immoral means now, he would still have reaped these fruits after some time. In his impatience, he has unnecessarily injected bad deeds in the fruit of his success and made it contaminated. This contamination has reduced the lifespan of this success, and it will end prematurely, while otherwise it would have endured for long. Those who put forth contrary arguments should know that if success and prosperity depended on wrong means, then their practitioners should never fail, nor any person with vices ever suffer downfall. But it is not so. Every wrongdoer comes under the inexorable law of sowing and reaping. When this situation arises, all accomplishments desert him, and all misdeeds of the past accumulated and since start showing results. Hence, wrong means or bad actions can never be the parameter of success or evaluation of life. There is only one touchstone of self-evaluation, presence of virtues, and the only true source from which they spring is the individual's noble emotions. The more the flow of these emotions in a person, the more there will be flourishings of virtues in him. But if the emotions have impurities, vices will soon start thriving. Yug Rishi Gurudev used to say, wherever there is sensitivity, there will arise rows of virtues spontaneously. On the other hand, when there is insensitivity, there will grow a crop of vices before long. In the days Gurudev used to live in Akhand Jyoti Sansthan at Mathura, a person came to him one day. He was sincerely remorseful of his wrongdoings and vices. He truthfully confessed to Gurudev all his past misdeeds and expressed his desire to turn over a new leaf in life. But he did not know where and how to begin, and how could he know whether or not he was reforming? Gurudev replied very affectionately, "Son, if you want to be a good man, render selfless service to somebody daily without any expectation. Selfless service breaks the bonds of the ego and generates pious sentiments." Daily regimen of selfless service sounded difficult to the man. He pleaded, "Gurudev, I have large scale business dealings which keeps me very busy. It is possible that I may not find daily for such service." In that case, Gurudev advised, "You pray to God for somebody, but this prayer should be honest, guileless, and selfless. It should be your conscious attempt that you are able to pray even for the one who is your antagonist. This selfless prayer too will promote the growth of virtuous qualities in you. One should evaluate oneself on the basis of the intensity of faith with which selfless service or selfless prayer is being offered and the honesty of one's feeling. Elimination of insensitivity and enrichment of emphatic sensitivities are the true criteria, are the elimination of insensitivity and enrichment of emphatic sensitivities are the true criteria on which one can test oneself, because it is sensitivities or emotions that are the wellspring of austere life and virtuous deeds. Noble emotions and noble deeds ultimately make a man successful in all his righteous pursuits. Keep testing yourself on this standard, and after every success, do not forget to ask, Success, but is it through righteous means? Thank you.